All right, here we go.
Well, good morning and happy Tuesday to you all. We are so glad that you are here with us. We are on chapter number 93 of the book, The Little Things Matter, 100 Ways to Improve Your Life Today. Can you all believe it? 100 ways to improve your life, and we are already on chapter 93. My goodness, we are improving our lives left and right every single morning, Monday through Friday, and we're just so glad that you are here today. Jamie and I have the honor of talking about chapter number 93, which is titled The Duplication Effect of Leadership. Boom, that's a good one. The duplication effect of leadership. I'm going to go ahead and start reading here what Todd has to say. Then I'll turn it over to Jamie for his input, and we will talk about this. So, whether or not you hold the formal title of leader, there are people around you who are influenced by the things you do and don't do. It may be your spouse, children, friends, coworkers, or students. The fact is that you are leading people whether you realize it or not. And by the end of this lesson, you'll see that your role in leading others is much more significant than you may think. Look for the common thread in these illustrations. The first one is taken from history. Oh, my goodness. Now, this is me speaking, Holly. I absolutely dig history. I love studying it. So this part of this chapter really speaks to me. So, okay, back to what Todd is saying. Alexander the Great, king of Macedonia, was one of the most outstanding leaders of all time. He became king at the age of 19, and for the next 11 years, he conquered much of the known world, leading his armies against others far superior to his. Yet when he was at the height of his power, he would still draw his sword at the beginning of a battle and lead his men forward into the conflict. King Alexander felt that he could not ask his men to risk their lives unless he was willing to demonstrate by his actions that he had complete confidence in the outcome. Seeing their leader charge forward motivated his soldiers so that nothing could stop them. Not only did he lead his men, but also through his example, he taught them how to lead. Here is a realistic scenario from the business world. Imagine a company where employees are expected to be at their desk by 8 a.m., yet their manager often strolls in around 8:15 a.m. It doesn't take long for the staff to follow suit, regardless of the official start time. Contrast that with the manager who requests that his employees stay late to meet a deadline, and he is the last one to turn out the lights. The third illustration is from our personal lives. Johnny is a member of the Little League baseball team. Johnny's father is the coach. Johnny comes up to bat and hits a grounder to the shortstop and runs as fast as he can towards first base. He is sure he is safe, but the umpire calls him out. Johnny's father storms out and hollers at the umpire. In the next inning, a teammate strikes out on what he believes is a bad call, so he does the same thing he saw his coach do. He argues with the umpire. It's critical to recognize that when you lead by example in a positive or negative way, the impact of your leadership increases exponentially. Each little thing you do leaves footprints for those who follow your example. What you do as a leader not only impacts those you lead, but through your example, you are teaching others how to lead. This duplication effect can influence every person who falls directly or indirectly under your leadership, and it can continue for future generations. Other leadership qualities are vital, but none compared to the example we set. This holds true in marriage, in parenting, and in the workplace. It applies to everything you do. From being a good listener to responding positively to problems, conducting yourself professionally in meetings to greeting people cordially in public. Excellence starts at the top. Families, community groups, and corporations all take on the characteristics of their leaders. When leaders set high performance standards for themselves, others strive to do the same. Therefore, if you want the people around you to step up their game, you must do it first. We will do well to remember the words of Albert Einstein. Setting an example is not the main means of influencing another. It is the only means. Oh, my goodness. This is such a great chapter for so many reasons. And I got to tell you, of all the people that I know, of all the people that I've ever known in my lifetime, the man I'm getting ready to hand the phone to right now, Mr. Jamie Yount, he definitely does this so well. Duplicates the effective leadership. Personally, for me in our home, Jamie leads our family, and I would follow him to the ends of the earth because he is that example. He sets the bar high. I'm so honored and privileged to be his wife, living our life together and really allowing him to lead myself and lead our boys. He's such a great example for them, and I'm so thankful for his godly leadership and just a man he is. So I know his birthday is tomorrow, so there you go, Jamie. Happy birthday.
Thank you for all of your kind words. And, so, hey, it's not about me. But here's what I know, and just, you go through all these things, but what I learned a long time ago, and I've always kind of lived by it, is just the little things are the big things. And I believe that wholeheartedly in every aspect of your life. It's the title of the book. It's what we talk about every day when we get on here. And, I can remember as a kid just, having a bad example. And so my youngest memory, I can remember, I don't want to be like that as a dad. And so not knowing what it looked like, not having a road map, or having kind of that example, was really something that was instilled in me, by God, I'm sure, even though I wasn't on a faith walk till into my 20s, and there's so much about that. And but it's really just born out of a deficit in my life. And so, a lot of times, people will say, well, this is kind of how I was raised, or this is the way it was, or kind of, there's always, and we call it the excuse word, the E word, but we call it the excuse word, so it's just really pointed here at the house. The boys, anytime it starts to, somebody makes an excuse, that's what it is. It's really an excuse because, when we look at leadership, I believe leadership is leadership, right? So I've always believed in really focusing on leadership at home, and that translates into your business, because focus on leadership in your business and translating it to home, it just seems counterintuitive. And leadership is really just leadership. It's just that. It's number one, I just believe in, and we've always believed this, in leading by example, right? And it's not just a do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. And we live in that kind of world, so many times, right? And our children are just a reflection of learned behavior, right? So I learned a lot of bad things from examples from my father that I had to change. I didn't even realize they were there. But one thing I can say is my dad was always a hard worker. He always worked hard. He didn't do much of anything else right, but he modeled that, and I've always kind of stood on that. But it's really your example, right? And it's you going first. So no matter what aspect it is in your life, just like he said, whether it's at your work, certainly in your marriage, Holly just made a great post about that, and that's a whole other thing. But I think it's a team effort, right? We're working together. You kind of signed up for that when you got married. As a father, most importantly, we're leading in our home, and maybe you're not married, maybe you're not a dad yet, and maybe you feel like you don't have a leadership role at work, but at any aspect in your life, you're leading someone, and people are looking to you as an example, especially I believe as men. Someone is looking to you, and the most important person you're ever going to lead is yourself. And so it all starts and it ends with you. It's all about your example. It's not about being perfect, but you have to accept leadership. Most importantly, first of all, is saying it's me, right? Whatever I do in any area of my life where I'm leading is going to be duplicated, right? Good or bad. And that's not by what I say, right? it's by what I do, because I have a men's group, and I've always kind of had a men's group, and it's not because I have it all together. It's more, and Holly has a ladies group, which is such a blessing, but it's a leadership nonetheless, and God kind of put us in those kind of positions. I know for myself, I can only speak for myself, put me in that kind of a position. I always believe to teach is to learn, so you have a responsibility as a leader too, and people are always watching. Number one, your kids are always watching, and you can tell a lot about a person and their leadership by just stepping them back and taking an objective view, and just watch their kids, right? Are they respectful? Are they kind of out there and crazy, right? Or how folks treat a server or someone that is that some people would say, well, they're beneath me, right? Because they're serving me. How they treat someone, how they treat their spouse, right? You can step back and get an objective view of their leadership, and it's really easy. People are going to tell on themselves and really tell. But that's because you can take out what they say and all the facade and just go straight to their actions. Because you ever heard the saying, your actions speak so loudly I can't hear what you say. And many times you'll hear people say things, but they don't follow it up with action. And there's a difference, right? Leadership is people it only goes so far, right? There's positional leadership, then there's higher levels of leadership. So, when I worked in my as a welder, I had a boss, and I had to do what he said, although sometimes I didn't agree with it because it didn't make sense. I didn't do what I do. He didn't weld. He was in his office. He would come out and tell me to do things. Engineers would come down and say, do this. And I would say, it's not going to work. It doesn't make sense, right? Because you're not doing what I do. But I still, nonetheless, I had to listen because it's positional, right? You can fire me because I'm not listening. And that's the lowest level of leadership. And I believe many times people fall into that as a parent, right? Do this because I'm your dad, right? You got to be respectful. I had a guy in a men's group, I say, man, my kids are so disrespectful, and none of that stuff, and they never say please and thank you, and I'm so hard on them, and I tell them, I preach it to them, and he said, well, your kids are just always so respectful, and he said, shoot me straight, I'm a straight shooter, just give it to me. And I say, you know what, it's learned behavior. He was quite possibly the rudest individual, he and his wife, that ever met, right? And no matter what you say, it's what you do, your example, that's going to duplicate in life. And so it's just being aware, right? Not of being perfect, but just understanding that everything that we do, all through this book, we're coming to the close, and all through this book, all of these little things, they add up to big results and big things. And the most important thing is your example. People are always watching you. And we're called as parents, right, to lead our children, to lead our family. And you might say, well, it's a man's job, it's the wife. Like we're a team, right? It's a team deal, right? It's part of the gig. We're called to lead a family, to raise good adults, not to tell children what they're supposed to do, to raise good adults that are going to raise other families. And so no matter where that's at, maybe that starts there. But if you're in business, I gained so much trust and so much respect when I was a welder, because I was welding. I was one of the better welders very quickly because I was able to learn. But then the polishers, I would just take the time and say, what can I do? How do I do your job? And they would show me, and then it showed me what I needed to do to make their job easier. And so then they respect me, and then they helped me as well. And it was an example, right? And I wasn't a leader, right? There were other people in the cell that were been there longer, were leaders. But as far as when the boss would come out and say, hey, we need something done, he would turn that over and he would ask me why, because he knew that although was it the captain in the cell, but it was leadership, right, because of the example. So a little longer, but this, it's such an important thing. I believe it's probably the most important thing. We are always leading by example, and Holly does that so very well too. I just echo everything she said about me. She's amazing, and learned so much from her, and we're just a team together.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up this Tuesday. Thank you all for joining us. Remember, we're here Monday through Friday at 8:15 Central Time, 9:15 Eastern Time. I had to think about my times there for a second, but we're so glad that you have joined us. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great rest of the day. Remember, the little things matter, and this is just a little thing that's a really, really big thing. So I'll turn it back to Jamie. He can unmute the line so we can all say goodbye.
Absolutely here. So I am unmuting and we get them out.
Thank you.
All right, everybody is unmuted. Thank you all.
Thank you.